All right. So today we are going to start the journey of statistics. And again, as I mentioned, that we'll go slow. We'll try to understand the concepts very clearly. We'll try to have a session which is 45 minutes to 1 hour, and we'll try to understand the concepts as deep as possible, right? Because when we are talking about data science, then we have to have a good understanding of statistics as well. And during this entire curriculum we are going to get knowledge in very detail, right? So we'll talk about a lot of stuffs during this entire curriculum. I'm expecting to complete statistics approximately in 1 month, alternate days obviously. So 15 to 20 classes, we'll try to wrap this up, but we'll see how we will able to uh, grasp. Based on that, we'll increase or decrease the pace. All right, so let's start with statistics here. Now, here we are going to today we are going to talk about different types of data and how we will analyze the data, right? And we'll like most of the things you may be aware of, but some of the statistical term you may not be aware of. So the plan here is to talk about the statistical term and try to understand what all things can be done with a very small data set. Now, the first is types of data. Now, in any uh, database, we will have different types of data, and the main category of the data I will say is a qualitative data and a quantitative data. If you see here, we have a qualitative data and quantitative data. Now we have to understand what this qualitative data is all about and what is quantitative data is all about. So when let's say I have a data which is like a category, right? When we have a categorical type of data, then it is known as qualitative data, and it is also known as categorical data, right? So it's like a category. For example, gender. Now gender is like male and female. For example, let's say states. Now states is again we have different states. So when we have a categories, then it is known as categorical or qualitative data, and in that we have three main types. If you see here, this is my very first type, which is nominal. Now, what is nominal? When we have a proper categories like gender, state, categories, subcategories, products, right? So when we have different types of values inside that, for example, let's say I have a product. In product, I have TV, I have fridge, I have a microwave, and so on. So I have different values, and that type of data type is known as, or that type of data is known as nominal data. The second is ordinal data. Now, what is ordinal data? For example, let's say uh, I'm giving you guys the training, right? I'm giving you the understanding about statistics. Now, obviously, will rate me based on my performance, how well I am teaching you guys. So it can be either bad, it can be average, or it can be excellent, right? Now, can I say it's like a rank where I have a data, someone says that I'm not teaching that great, it's a bad. So it's like a rank on my skills. You're giving the rank as bad, right? It's like a, I will say, a rank type of data. So when we have a rank type of data, whether the class is satisfactory, not satisfactory, highly satisfactory, right? So when we have that type of rank type of data, that type of data is known as ordinal. Then the third type of categorical data which we have is yes or no, true or false, right? Binary type of data, whether the rain will happen or not, yes, no, something like that. So if I want to classify this quantitative or a categorical data, the segregation are nominal, which is like a normal types of data where I have products and all those things. Ordinal, where I am having the rank, and binary, where I am having the binary type of data, true or false type of data. Now, if I talk about the second type of data, which I can have is quantitative data. It's like where I can able to quantify something. What is the salary of this group? What is the total sales happened in Nagpur? What is the total sales happened in Gurgaon, and so on. So when I am having some quantity, right, then it is known as quantitative data, also known as measures, right? If you remember, we had a discussion about Tableau, where we are actually giving this name as measures. If you remember, in the SQL, we talked about facts. So these are the facts, right? So I can say these are the dimensions, these are the facts, these are the dimensions, these are the measures, like different names, but the meaning is the same. Now here I have a quantitative data, again are of two types. The first type is discrete, second type is continuous. Now discrete is like the value 10, 20, 30, 40, where I don't have decimals, right? For example, how many quantity of pens he purchased. Let's say he purchased 10 pens, right? So now it is a discrete value. No one will tell you that I purchased 10.5 pens, right? It will not make any sense. So I have this discrete data. However, continuous data is like how many kg of potato I purchased. So let's say I purchased 10.5 kgs. So here decimal makes sense. So when we have a data where decimal logically not making any sense is a discrete data, and when we have a data where decimal may make some sense or obviously make some sense, then it is a continuous type of data. Let's talk about analyzing categorical data, or I can say analyzing qualitative data also, right? One and the same thing. So if I want to analyzing a categorical data, how we can do that, right? Now here is the data set which I have. Now in this data set, how to identify individuals, variables, and categorical variables in a data set. Biscuits are snacks liked by people of every age. The nutritional data of some of the famous Indian biscuits is as follows. I have a biscuit, Crack Jack, Monaco, Mary, Oreo, Nice. These are some of the biscuits which we have. I have the type of the biscuit, whether it is a sweet and salty, whether it is a sweet, whether it's a salty, or so on. I have the calories, how much calories I have from that biscuit, maybe 100 gram of biscuit, how much calories I have, and how many carbohydrates we have in that individual biscuits in 100 gram of biscuits. Now, what are individuals? Now, the individual means about which I am talking. Can I say I am talking about biscuits? So when I am talking about biscuits, then biscuits are nothing but individuals. Okay. But suppose when I have a data where I have an Excel file, in that I have a biscuit, I will consider that as a categorical data only. Like I have a biscuit which is a categorical data and I have the information for it. But statistically, as I am talking about biscuits, so biscuit will considered as an individuals. We are talking about the individuals, right? For example, let's say I have in place of biscuits, let's say I have students. I have all the student names out here. So now I am talking about my students, right? So my individuals are nothing but students because I'm talking about that individual, that what is his age, what is his marks, and so on. So here students are my individuals, and these are the features of that individual. These are like features. Suppose I have Swadesh. Now what is his age, and what is his marks, and so on. Right. So Swadesh is an individual, and these are marks and age are nothing but the features of Swadesh, like how much marks he's getting, how much, what is his age, right? Now, if you see here, these are my individuals about which I am talking. If you see here, the type, now type has a value which looks like a categorical value, right? It's not a numeric, first of all. It is not a quantitative data, it's a qualitative data. So this is definitely a categorical data, and which has a unique values. One is sweet and salty, second is salty and sweet. These are the three unique values I have in that particular column. And then calories and carbs looks like a quantitative data, or I can say it's a measure, it's a fact, right? So now if someone will ask like what all variables are there, how many variables are there, I can say I have three variables. One is type, second is calories, third is carbs, because these are individuals. I cannot say this is a variable because I'm talking about this. So I have three variables: type, calories and carbs. Now which one is a categorical variable? Type is a categorical variable. How many quantitative variables I have? I have two quantitative variables: calories and carbs, right? Now if you see in the next slide, they are asking some questions. So there are two questions. First one says that the individuals in the data set are biscuits, right? So the individuals in my data set are biscuits because we are talking about biscuits. The data set consists of three variables, yes, for sure. So these two options are valid as of now. Out of that, one is categorical, two numeric. Do I see two categorical? No, I don't see. So this is wrong. So we are left with this option. So in my data set, I have three variables, one of which is a categorical variable. Okay. So that is about the understanding on how we can actually analyze the categorical data, or how we will able to understand that which one is a categorical data. Now there is a concept of pictographs. When in like very old way, people are used to understand the data by some pictures. Now these are the pictures. Now here, according to the pictograph below, how many survey respondents have white hair and how many have brown hair, right? My requirement is I want to know how many are with white hair and how many are with brown hair. Now if you see here, one star actually means two people, right? So from here, I understand that one star is actually two people. Now we are looking for brown hair and white hair. Now if I go to white, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stars. 7 into 2 is 14. So there are 14 people with a white hair. If I talk about brown, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 into 2 is 18. So I have 18 people with brown hair. Let's count for black also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 into 2. We have 10 people with black hairs. So this is like very old way of analyzing the data, where we are seeing by the pictures and try to analyze that how many values are there, right? People were using that in the previous times, but now there are various ways which we will also study in this curriculum, how we can represent the data. One of the ways, bar graph. For example, this is my data set. Now if you see here, so this is like March and April. So it's not April actually, it's June. I updated the data here. So based on the data below, which countries daily death count due to coronavirus has, I will not say improved, but badly impacted, right? So it should not be improved. It's a wrong word. But how badly it is impacted. And this is nothing but 20th, 29th of June. So if you see here, when I see this data, I can clearly understand that if I compare India in the month of March and in the month of June, in the span of 2 months approximately, in India, the value is almost nil. There were around 300 records or something. 300 people died. but now the value is around 16,000. So from here I can able to understand. Now it's a category, right? Now India, Italy, Spain, UK, these are a category. It's a categorical data where it is nothing but a country. And this is the deaths, which is a numerical data, or I can say quantitative data, or I can say a fact or a measure, right? So I can clearly see that in almost all the countries, there is a very huge rise happened in the deaths over the period of time. Right. So from here I can understand that what is the change happen, which like previous month was bad or this month was bad. As of now, like in coronavirus, obviously my latest month will be the bad, but in real time scenario there are chances that my previous score is a good score and now I'm giving the exam and I'm getting the bad score, right? Very much possible. So all those type of data, when we have one category and one numeric, we prefer to create one type of chart which is known as bar chart, right? So if you want to analyze a categorical data as well as numerical data, or I can say quantitative data, bar chart is one of the option for us to view the data. Let's take one more example. Let's try to understand here. So this is again not May, it's for the current month, which is June. So reading the bar graph example of few Indian states having coronavirus cases. Now, if you see here, till today, the number of cases which we have, as you can see here, in Maharashtra, it's around 70,000. In Delhi, it is around 27,000. These are the active cases, right? So these are the active cases which we see. In Tamil Nadu, we have 35,000. In Gujarat, we have 6,780. So these are the total cases happened. And again, it's again a category and this again a numerical data. So you can clearly see that how, if I want to analyze numerical data with a categorical data, we will prefer to go with a bar chart type of a chart. Let's try to understand one more chart which will where we will have to give a lot of answers. So here we will try to give some answers, right? So the first question is, what was the median percentage for half yearly exams? Now here in this data set, this is looks like a marks, and this is looks like a name of a student. Now from here, if you see, the darker color bar is a half yearly exam and the lighter color bar is a final exam. Now if someone will ask that who is performing better in the final exam, then obviously Ritu and Arav is like they are performing better as compared to Yug and Pooja, because Yug and Pooja, comparison with the half yearly, they actually fallen down. The total number of marks they are getting is less. However, here I see an increase in the marks, right? So I'm able to understand that. I don't know who is Ritu, who is Arab, who is Yog, and so on. But yes, I'm able to see the marks and I can analyze that. Okay, I think Ritu worked very hard after half yearly and she's getting good marks. Similarly, Arab is working very hard or worked very hard in the exam after half yearly, and that's why they like he got a very good marks. So from this data set, we'll try to answer the first question: what was the median percentage for the half yearly exam? Now, what is a median? Obviously, we are going to talk about that in detail. But now, what is a median? Median is nothing but like a middle value. When we sort the data, and then the middle value which I will get is the median. Now, if you see, they are asking for the half yearly exam. So Pooja got around 90 marks. Ritu got 70 marks. Arab got 80 marks. And you got 90 marks. Right? These are the 4 marks I have. Now what I want is I want to find the median. Now median is nothing but I have 4 values, right? I have 4 values. So when you want to find the median, and here the values are even. So median, when you want to find, we will again have a discussion in detail, but let's as of now assume that when you want to find the median, if the number of values are even, then we take middle two values and take the average. Middle two values and take the average. But if the values are odd, in that case, we go with the middle value. And obviously my data should be sorted, either ascending or descending. If my data is not sorted, the first thing which we have to do is we have to sort the data. So here my data is sorted 70, 80, 90, 90, and the average which we are getting is 85. So if someone will ask you what was the median percentage for half yearly exam, is nothing but 85. Does that make sense? Now, what is the mid-range percentage of the final exam? Mid-range. What is range? Range is nothing but the minimum value minus, or I can say minimum value and maximum value. So difference between max minus min is nothing but range, right? And I want the mid range. So basically I want to take the average of this. So they are asking for the final exam. In the final exam, Pooja got 80 marks. Ritu got 80 marks as well. Arav got 90 marks. And you got 85 marks. So if someone will ask what is the range is nothing but 80, which is the minimum value, 90, which is the maximum value. So 90 minus 80 is nothing but 10 is my range. Right? So what is the mid-range percentage? Can I say it is 85? Mid-range percentage? The middle value of the range, 85. So here answer is 85, the mid-range value. The range is 10 obviously, but the mid-range value is nothing but I will half the range and add that with 80, the minimum value, or subtract it with 90, one and the same thing. Then the next question is, what was the average student percentage for the half yearly? Now we want to find the average, or I can say I want to find the mean. So in half yearly, Pooja got 90, Ritu got 70, Arav got 80, you got 90. What was the average student percentage in half yearly exam? So I'll sum this, and then divide by 4. So 90 plus 90 is 180, plus 80 is 260, plus 70. So it is 330, 330 divided by 4. That is the answer. Around what, 80 something? 82 point something, right? So 82.2 is the answer. And the last question which we have is, what is the range percentage of a final exam? Now my final exam is like this value, which is nothing but 80. We already calculated that somewhere, right? Here. So range, we want to find the range percentage. So the range is nothing but 80 to 90, I guess. Right? That is what we are getting here. Well, let's check quickly. So we have 80 for Ritu as well, 90 for Arav, and 85 for Yug. So range is nothing but from 80 to 90, right? 80 to 90. The minimum value is 80, maximum value is 90. That is my range. Okay. So that is how from this data set we are able to get the insights, which gives us a lot of good insights, right? And again, this is just a small data and we are getting a lot of insights. What if we'll have a huge amount of data? All the relevant insights may help business. Now, let's talk about pie chart. Now, what is a pie chart? Pie chart is another way of representation of the data. Suppose if let's go back I want to create a pie chart for this, right? Now, what will happen? My pie chart for this chart looks like what? I have a pie. Now I have four values: Ritu, Pooja, Arav, and you. So I can break that into four. Now let's say I want to create a pie chart for the final exam. Now in final exam, Pooja got 80, Ritu got 80 as well. So I will divide this pie into two equal part. Let's say this 80, and let me make it properly. So we'll have a pie. This is 100%. Out of that, two people got 80. So obviously this circle will be nothing but the sum of all the marks. So 85 plus 90 plus 85 plus 80 plus 80, right? So 160 plus 90, which is 250 plus 85, which is nothing but 335. So this circle is entirely 335. Out of that, Ritu and Pooja are of same mark. So I have to create a slice in a way that it will break into two equal parts, right? So I have a pie, and from here I have, let's make this like this and cut it here, right? So this is 80, this is 80, something like this, and then bit of like this. Let's say this is 90 and this is 85. Okay, so I created a pie chart where this 80 is Ritu, this 80 is Pooja, this is you, and this is Hara. So again, I can display this categorical data in a pie format as well, clearly, right? So that's another way of visualization. So now let's see what they are saying in the pie. So it says that 15 kids were asked about their favorite chocolate. Out of that, 4 said 5 star, 6 said Dairy Milk, 3 said Perk, and 2 said Kit Kat. Now let's create a pie chart which are the most liked and the most disliked chocolates. Right? So what they did is they created a pie chart, and here I have the percentages. Now how this percentage coming in? So total there are 15 kids. 4 said 5 star, 6 said Dairy Milk, 3 said Perk, and 2 said Kit Kat. Total, if you count, it is 15. Out of 15, 4 are 5 stars. So if you see here, 26.67. So 4 divided by 15 into 100 is gonna be 26.67. Same way, 6 is my Dairy Milk. So 6 by 15 into 100 looks like 40%. Same way, 20% for Perk and 13.33% for Kit Kat. So most liked chocolate is a Dairy Milk and most disliked chocolate is a Kit Kat. Right. So from this chart, we are able to understand an information which we got that in a text format, but we converted that to a visual format. So obviously, what is the benefit of visualization? The benefit of visualization is nothing but by seeing this, you may not able to answer the questions quickly, right? By seeing this, you may not able to answer the questions quickly. You have to read all this, then you have to analyze that. It is a time consuming process. But if you see here in the visual, I can able to answer as quickly as possible, right? I see that Dairy Milk is in demand and Kit Kat is not in demand. In few seconds, I'm able to analyze and come up with the insights. So the main purpose of visuals is to help understand how things are going on different, I would say, like different categories. Okay. Again, once we'll discuss some more visuals, you'll get an idea how beneficial this visuals will be rather than just seeing the numbers. Now, there are two-way frequency table and Venn diagram, which is what we have to understand. Now, let's try to understand this. Now, I have a chocolate, and these are the different chocolates I have. If you see, this is a chocolate, which is a chocolate without coconut. Okay, this is a chocolate without coconut. This is a chocolate with coconut. So now from here you can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chocolates and 6 chocolates. Total 6 chocolates I have, which are like only chocolates are there, no coconut is there. How many coconut chocolates we have? I have 2 chocolates with coconut, right? In fact, 3, sorry. And I have a chocolate which does not have chocolate, but it has a coconut only. So basically I have a toffee where I have only coconut, no chocolate involved in it. And I have 2 toffees where I don't have chocolate, I don't have coconut as well. Now from this, I want to understand that how many are chocolates there, how many are no coconuts there, how many no coconuts, no chocolates. We have to understand that data. So either we can create a two-way table like this, which we will discuss, or we can create a Venn diagram as well. Now here if you see, I have 6 looks like only chocolates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see that we have 6 which are only chocolates. 1 which is only coconut. And the intersection is nothing but chocolates as well as coconut. So if you see 3, 1, 2, 3 are chocolates as well as coconuts. And there are 2 toffees which are neither chocolate nor coconut. So from this Venn diagram, I will able to understand that what are the intersections we have, what are the unique values of chocolates we have, what are the unique values of coconut we have, what are the values which are neither chocolate nor coconut, right? That also we can able to understand from here. But it is like very raw way of showing the data rather than coming up with this two-way frequency table, which is giving me a good insight. So here I have coconut, no coconut, chocolate, no chocolate. Now here I created a table. From here it says that has chocolate and coconut 3. So here you can see I have a chocolate and coconut, I have a chocolate and coconut, I have a chocolate and coconut. So I have 3 values here. Then if you see has chocolate, no coconut, 6, obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We have 6 values out here. Coconut but no chocolate, looks like 1 only. That is what we see here. And no coconut, no chocolate, 2. That is what we see here as well. Now if you want to see that how many coconuts are there, whether it is chocolate is there or not, I am summing up 4, 3 plus 1, right? So I have 3 plus 1 is 4. So I have 4 toffees where I have chocolate, no chocolate, I don't care. I am interested in only coconut. So there are 4 toffees where I have coconut. Same way I have 8 toffees where I have no coconut. Is it? Let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. If I see like this, you can see that I have 9 toffees where I have chocolates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I have 3 toffees with no chocolate. Absolutely. So by creating this table, I'm getting a good insight. By creating a Venn diagram also, I'm getting an insight. But obviously, we prefer to go with a tabular format rather than a Venn diagram. Sometimes business wants that they want to create a Venn diagram, then we can go for it. But tabular format is much more intuitive rather than the Venn diagram. Now there is a concept of marginal and conditional distribution. Now what is a marginal distribution and what is a conditional distribution? We'll quickly talk about that. Here if you see, I have a data where this is like my marks, how many marks students are getting, 0 to 19, 20 to 20 to 39, 40 to 59, 60 to 79, and so on, 80 to 100. And these are the time they spend on studies. Now if we see here, we have to understand this data. Now if you see here, ignore this percentages as of now. Let's try to understand this data. Now from here I can clearly see that when someone is studying more hours, if you see, right, try to understand this data. When someone is studying more hours, they are getting at least 40 plus, right? Don't you think so? This is my hours, higher hours, and majority of my students are here. These are my students, right? The numbers are my students. Now from this, I can clearly see that 32, 32, 64, 64 plus 30, 94, 104, 144. So 144 students actually got above 40 when they were studying more than 40 hours. Clearly, right? So majority of the people are present here. I can clearly see from the data. Now, if you see the percentages, which is the marginal distribution, these percentages, we have to understand that what these percentages are. Right? So let's try to understand what these percentages are. I see 8.9% here. I see 8.9 percentage here. What does that mean? I have 19 students who are studying 0 to 20 hours. Out of 214 students, which are the total. So if I do the calculation, 19 by 214, I am getting 8.87, which is nothing but 8.9. So from here, I can clearly understand that out of 19 students, no, sorry, out of 214 students, 19 students are studying for 0 to 20 hours only. Same way here, if you see, 14.5% students are studying 21 to 40 hours. 42% students, we saw the majority here, right? We saw the majority here. So 42% students are actually studying 41 to 60 hours, and 35% students are studying more than 60 hours. Same way, if you see, like I was seeing across the time, now let's see across the marks, right? Now from here, let's try to understand that 45 students got marks between 80 and 100. So 45 by 214, if I will check, 45 by 214, I am getting 22, 21%. Perfect. So 21% students are scoring between 80 and 100. 28% students are scoring between 60 and 79. 33%. So you can clearly see that the majority is here only, and that is what we found out from this data as well. So these values which you see in the percentages, or if you see in this numbers total, right, These values are nothing but known as marginal distribution. So the values which we are seeing, like how many total values on different slices we have, whether it is a total or a percentages, are nothing but my marginal distribution. Now there is one more concept of conditional distribution. Now based on any condition, I want to find the percentages. For example, here there is a condition. Distribution of a score given that the students study only 41 to 60 hours. So these are the students who are studying 41 to 60 hours. And when you see the sum of these percentages, that is nothing but 100%. There are 90 students total, 20 students are studying 41 to 60 hours and getting 80% marks, 80 to 100% marks. So if I do 20 by 90, I should get 22%. So when we are applying a condition, then the percentages here are changing, right? Because the percentages which we are calculating is based on that condition only, right? We are fetching out that data and try to understand that data as a percentage, nothing else. Rest of the data I am not considering, because in my data set which we have, I have more than this data. If you see here, I have more than this data, but I am only focusing on this data only, because the requirement was like that. I want to know what is the percentage when the hours is 41 to 60. So here I have a condition. That is why it is known as conditional distribution. And conditional distribution we can show in the percentages, which makes sense because I have only one count, right? I like this 20, obviously it's a 20 only. If I find the percentage, will logically make more sense rather than putting 20 here, 30 here. We know that these are the individual values, but I want to find the individual values percentage based on the total records. That makes more sense. Now displaying quantitative data with graphs. Now quantitative data is what? Numerical data. Absolutely. So I want to display the quantitative data with the graphs. Now here is my data set. I have the people James, John, Andrew, Sarah, Cynthia, and these are the scores which they got. James got 90, John got 85, Andrew got 95, Sarah got 100, and Cynthia got 100 as well. So if you see this chart, it's a simple chart where I have this one of the categories, which is name. I have one marks. If I want to find the range is nothing but max minus minimum. The max marks is 100, either it is of Sarah or Cynthia, and the minimum marks which I am getting is from John. So the range which we are getting is nothing but 100 minus 85, that is 15. Now from here I can also analyze a lot of other information as well. That let's say if someone is asking how many students are less than 100. So I can clearly say that there are 3 students which are less than 100. Most frequent. What are the most frequent marks? Sarah and Cynthia got 100 marks, which is most frequent. Out of 5, 2 are 100. This most frequent is also known as mode. We are going to talk about that in detail, but as of now, just understand that. So we spoke about mean a bit. We spoke about median a bit. We spoke about mode a little bit. These 3 are known as measure of central tendency. We'll talk about that again in detail. Measure of central tendency. This is a dot plot, right? So in Tableau also you must have seen the dot plots. So this is a dot plot which actually show me that how many people are present in that certain marks. I can clearly see that 85 I have only one student, 90 I have only one student, 95 I have only one student, and 100 I have two students. Okay, so I can clearly see that from here. Now frequency table and dot plots. Now this is again an interesting plot to understand. Again, it's a dot plot only, but let's see what they are trying to help us understand. I have a class, and in my class, I have the age of the students which I captured from the data. Now these are the different ages: 5, 7, 5, 9, and so on. Now what I did is from this raw data, we created a frequency table. Now this is my frequency table, which is helping me understand that how many students are with the age 5, how many students are with the age 6, how many students are with the age 7, and so on. I can see that with age 6 I have 0 students. I don't see any 6 out here. I don't see any 8 out here. I see 9 three times. 1, 2, 3. I see 10 two times. 1, 2, and so on. So this is my frequency table, which is helping me understand that what is the different ages count in my data set. And the same way I'm creating a dot plot as well by using this frequency table. 5, 3 students. 6, 0 student. 7, 1 student. 8, 0 student. 9, 3 student, and so on. From here I can analyze the data as well. That what is the range? Range is nothing but the maximum value minus minimum value, which is nothing but 13 minus 5 is equal to 8. From here I can also understand how many are older than 9. Older than 9. So older than 9 are these values: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 students. Those are older than 9 years. If someone will ask what is the most frequent value, now frequent is looks like 5 three times and 9 three times. So my mode is 5, 9. We have to decide on that, which is my mode. Right. We'll discuss about that once we'll reach to the measure of central tendency. But that is how you can able to analyze the data, right? You can actually able to get insights in a quick time. Again, I have the same data. We can create a frequency table, or there is a concept of histogram, highly used. Histogram is helping me to again show the data distribution. In data science point of view, we can use histogram a lot. Now, if you see here in this data, again, these are the ages. This time I created a bin. I did not create like 5, 7, because obviously the range is very big, right? 5 till I think 56, 59. So if I go and create the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it will be a big frequency table. So what I did is I created a bin. Bin is like a bucket. We created a bin of 10 size. Starting 0 to 9 is a 10 size, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Total 10 values. So I created a bin of 10 size, 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29, and so on. And then we found out how many people are between 0 and 9. We can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 values, right? Same way 0 to 9, 10 to 19, and so on. So from here, I am actually able to get the frequency based on the bin, and then we can start plotting here. 0 to 9, total 5. So it will go till 5. 10 to 16, it's 6. So it will be 6. 10 to 19. 20 to 29, only 1. 30 to 39, 2. 40 to 49, 3. That's a bigger bar. Let me undo this. 3. and 52, 59 as well, 3, something like this, right? So you can see that 5, 0 to 9, 6, 1, 2, 3, and 3. So that is how you will able to create a histogram. Again, when I have a numeric data, try to understand when we create histogram. When I have a numeric data and I am converting this numeric data to a bin, and bin is like a category. I am converting this numerical data to a category, a group, and then try to plot a chart. That is helping me to understand how my data is distributed. If you see here, if someone will ask how the data is distributed, I can say that majority of my students are at the lower age, right? Majority of my students are at the lower age. And that is how you will be able to understand histogram.